Hey, this is Eric Latender. I'm at Eric Latender's dog training school. It's pretty quiet right now because everybody's in home because of the whole coronavirus. Everybody's supposed to just keep our distance. So we are pretty slow like a lot of people. But this gives us an opportunity to talk about some dog training, share some videos with you. And there's one question that's going through everybody's mind right now, right? One question. What's everybody thinking? Everybody's thinking, when is this gonna end? When is this gonna end? Is it gonna be 2 weeks? Is it gonna be 3 weeks? Is it gonna be a couple days? Right now, it's looking like 3 weeks or so. But that's an important question when you're training a dog. When does this end? Because when you give a command to a dog, you have to teach the dog when the command ends. Dog training isn't just a matter of getting the dog into a position, sit, down, even a heel command or even a recall. Right? The dog needs to do the command until you say it's over. This is a very important point that a lot of trainers and people miss, because what happens with most dogs is they just learn how to do a position. The dog does sit. He goes into sit position, he gets a cookie, then he gets up and walks away. Down. The dog goes into a down, does it good. Gets a cookie, jumps up and walks away. Or the owner says down, stay, stay, stay. Dog jumps up and runs away. So the dog's deciding when to complete the command. So duration is an important part of doing a command. How long does the dog do the command for? And so you need to teach duration. What we were talking about in the last video was distance. What's the other thing everybody's thinking about right now? Social distance. So we were talking about social distance in your dog, teaching the dog how to maintain a behavior like a stay command. Distance is important because you want to be able to get further and further away from your dog and still have control over him. You want to be able to have your dog in a down or a sit, or you want to be able to call him, or you want to be able to send him away, and you want to be able to control from a distance. The other thing that you need to do is you need to control duration, right? How long does the dog do the command for? And then the final thing is distractions, and we'll talk about that in a later video. Distractions, how to get the dog to perform when there's a lot of stuff going on. Because that's a big problem for most dog owners, right? Hey, if I'm at home and I'm walking around my backyard with my dog on leash, the dog does great. I go down to the park and there's another dog or a squirrel or a cat or whatever, and my dog loses it. So you have to work on distractions, duration, and distance. This video is about duration. And duration requires concentration on your dog's part. So I have a lot of folks that come in here with their puppies and they say, my puppy, he only does like a sit for about 10 seconds. I'm like, well, yeah, your puppy's, 10 weeks old. 10 weeks, if the puppy does 10 seconds, that's pretty good, right? Because concentration has to be developed and it has to be taught just like everything else. We only think when we're teaching sitting down and stand and place, we're thinking we just got to get the dog to do the position. But really what you have to do is you have to teach the dog concentration and how to maintain the behavior. That's the hard part of a command, is telling your dog to sit, walking out the door, going out to your car, grabbing your coffee that you forgot, come back in, your dog's still sitting there. Most dogs can't do that. Most dogs can do a sit maybe for half a minute to a minute, and then if there's any kind of distraction like the owner walking out of the room, the dog blows it. So you have to work on building up that duration. And the thing that I always tell everybody when you're training a dog, dogs only do two behaviors. They do behaviors that we like, they do behaviors that we don't like. And so if there's a behavior that you like and want, you need to apply and use reinforcement. There's no way around that. If you want your dog to do a really good sit, a really good down, recall, you need to apply reinforcement. That's how you teach a behavior. That's how you make it stronger. And then there comes a point where we call it the proofing phase, and then sometimes you need to use a negative consequence, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about how do we teach the dog duration. Concentration can be rewarded and taught just like a position, sit or down. Anything that you teach, right? You always start off in very small increments and then you build your way up. And you try to get more and more and more until the dog gets really good understanding of what duration means. So the most important part of teaching duration is trying to get the dog to be successful. So if you're working with a young puppy and you know that puppy's the best they can do is 20 seconds, you reward right up to about 15, 18 seconds, and then you release. Right? You try to build on the success as opposed to the puppy making a mistake and getting frustrated and starting over again. And then if they can get up to 18, 20 seconds, you see if you can expand it to 25, 26 seconds, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. So incrementally, you try to increase the dog's concentration and duration. And so if I was working with Sky, and let's say she was a puppy, I use the duration marker, good, and then I reward. Good, and then I reward. Okay? And now Sky's got pretty good concentration. Obviously, she's a 3-year-old German Shepherd, and I've spent a lot of time training her. And I don't need to say good and give her a reward all the time. I can just tell her verbally with no reward. I can just say good and walk away from her. But in the early stages, I had to pair the word good with the reinforcement to help her learn how to maintain the behavior. Duration. You have to work on duration, and you work on it by making the dog successful. Always work on building the dog's success. Good. So when you say the word good, always say the word first, good, then deliver the reward. You don't want to deliver the reward and say good. She's never going to learn the word that way. It has to be the word and then the consequence. Always. Always, always, always. Good, reward. Okay, good. So good and reward. And so if she was young, I'd work her up to 15, 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 30 seconds. I keep building on it, always trying to make her more and more successful so that she understands, oh, I have to continue doing this. The other part of that you hear me talk about all the time is the release. If you want your dog to get good at duration, you have to teach the dog to release, right? You got to let them know, when am I off the clock? When can I move again? So I use good for a duration marker, and I use the word yes. When I say good, I deliver the reward to her. When I say yes, she's going to come get the reward from me. So I always practice by saying good, I deliver, and then yes, she comes and gets it. When you teach your dog a release marker, make sure the dog gets out of position. You don't want to say yes and they just lay there and you go over and give them a treat. Okay? You want them to physically get off of the bed, out of the position, out of the sit position, out of the down position, stay in position. Whatever position you put them in, you're going to make sure that they physically move out of it. So again, if I'm working with Sky, yes, she comes off the bed, good girl. Place, good, duration, good, duration, yes. But you have to understand, and not to get too technical on you, but you need to condition these words. Good treat, yes, come get the treat. You have to condition these words so that eventually you don't need to rely on the treats. If I say Sky, good, she's got an understanding, right? With no treats, I can Sky, yes, good girl. She understands what the word means with or without the treat. But in the early stages, you need to pair. It's conditioning. Pair. Associate. Get the dog to understand the meaning of the word by using the consequence. Eventually you get to the point where they understand with or without the consequence. And that's really where you're trying to get to. I hope all this makes sense. And remember, when you're training a dog, once they start to learn the command, you got to work on duration, distance, and distractions. And that's how you get a really well-trained dog. So I hope you enjoyed this video. These are some things that you can practice and work on with your dog so you can get back to class. I know you're all just can't wait to get back here. But those are some things that you can work on. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just go ahead and post them below. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.